This is the third small group discussion with J. Krishnamurti in Madras, 1972.
Start somebody. Here he is. Oh, good. Come on.
Can we discuss the relationship between the mind and the heart?
Can some of you come and sit there? Come on. Make the circle complete.
Amma is coming. We have to tell her that we are beginning.
Sit there. Aren't you crowded there? Achuji, come out here. Come on now. Let's say it. Come out here, sir. You have to sit here. Start, sir. So I want to discuss what's the relationship with the mind and the heart.
The mind obviously gives an impetus to desires, and the opposite also happens, that desire is constantly stimulating thought. So there seems to be this interlinking of mind and heart, and at the same time they seem to be always divided. What is the real relationship? What is the relationship between the mind and the heart?
Good.
I was going to say that perhaps this could be included in. I find the greatest difficulty is in keeping an inquiry going, to have a momentum inwardly. That it seems that inquiry into oneself is fragmented. It's broken up by distraction, desire. Maybe we could find out why this is, what is interfering with the momentum of inquiry.
So, would you say, one of the problems seems to be what creates passion? Because that's related to what Radhaji is saying. There is the mind, the heart, the intellect. They seem to function very coldly and in groups. What creates passion to do, to act, to see? That seems to be the... And what is the relationship of that to the other? To the so-called mind and heart?
I don't know. Somebody start.
So do I understand our friend here to say that what creates coherence?
No, not coherence.
What is the sustaining quality of an investigation? What is the momentum, the drive, the urge, the volume behind inquiry? Sometimes there is a great deal of weight behind it, pushing it. Other times there's no weight at all, and that's it.
And we know that sorrow sometimes drives us to this, drives us to inquiry, but it appears not to be enough, that when, in a normal day, when there's nothing particularly disturbing, one looks at one's mind and very often draws a blank. There doesn't seem to be that volume behind the looking.
Now what shall we do?
What would be the volume behind the looking? What would be the pressure? What is the pressure?
So he's asking a very simple question. We are going to inquire into what is the relationship between heart and the mind. We're going to about the meaning of the word heart and the meaning of the word mind. And to inquire, to investigate that, you need a certain passion, which Balasundaram brought out. And what is the weight or the volume of energy necessary to keep that inquiry going at a certain speed, depth and vitality, right?
Is it a question of keeping the energy going or keeping something else from interfering with the flow of that movement?
Were you there yesterday morning?
Yes?
Come over here. Were you there yesterday morning? What kept that man on the talking? What sustained that continuous energy for an hour and a half? What was the momentum? The very inquiry is its own momentum, isn't it? Not you don't have to have energy, and which drives the inquiry, but that the very movement of inquiry is its own vitality, its own energy, its own drive, its own passion. I'm interested. I want to find out what is the relationship between the mind and the heart. We'll use those two words. The mind being the intellect, the capacity to reason, to have insight, to observe, to rationalize or reason based on some false premise and so on, so on. All that's the mind. And the heart is generally understood as being pleasure, desire, affection, love and all that. What's the relationship between the two? That's right. Now, how do you inquire into that? What is the very inquiry pushes it along, doesn't it? We'll go along, we'll see how it comes out. Now, what's the relationship between the two? Why do we divide the mind from the heart and then try to find out what is the relationship between the two? Or is this division natural or artificial, or the result of our conditioning, education, and so on? Or has the mind divided the heart from itself so as to control the heart?
It attempts to.
So we are inquiring now.
But it also stimulates the heart, it stimulates pleasure.
Yes, it stimulates, it encourages, it nourishes the heart, and it tries to control it when it gets too far.
Yes.
So it does both,
That's right.
encourage and discourage. Now, why is there this division? Is it artificial, is it real, or is the mind, which is the whole movement of thought, tries to control the various desires, contradictory desires and so on, tries to control it, therefore the controller separates himself from the controlled and says these two are separate.
Physiologically, we feel that certain activities are centered, in the head and others in a different...
Do you really?
I do not know, that's...
I'm asking, do you really feel the heart physiologically is separate from the head? Physiologically, obviously. But is there such division, or is it you're operating totally, the whole? I don't feel the division.
Sir, when there is sorrow, it's very heavy. Heart is very heavy.
Pardon?
When there is sorrow, the heart is very heavy. The mind doesn't act. It's full of...
Is sorrow part of the heart or part of the mind?
I've made up my identity out of the controller. The controller is my greatest sense of person.
Yes, the controller is the entity with which thought has identified itself as the thinker, the experiencer, the observer, the investigator, and so on, so on, so on. So, what are you trying to say, sir?
Well, you see, if I'm on my own, and if I'm to give us some space to back away and to begin an investigation by asking questions, immediately I feel that it's false, that this process of asking myself a question is the division, is the problem.
No, sir. I'm walking along the road. I watch.
Yes.
I don't divide and say, am I asking question, who is the investigator? I watch. I see the birds, I see the morning oriole or the bulbul or a crow, and I just go along. I don't say I must investigate. It's a movement, and you're moving. I don't know
in that case, you see, then immediately there isn't the identification. There's simply the investigation. But what if I feel very much the sense of identification with the process of investigation?
Then you can't investigate.
Quite right.
Finished. If I want to investigate, I can't identify myself in a particular entity who says I must investigate. Investigate means walk, move, not tethered to a point from which you move. Now let's go back. The mind and the heart. We are going to investigate. Now what is Is there such division at all?
I think Radhaji is trying to say that the heart is the seat of emotions.
No, we can only say we feel the division.
But why do you feel the division? What is the raison d'être for that division? Who says there is a division? Do you feel there is a division? You feel the division when there is a contradiction.
Yes.
In that contradiction, one of the mind says, I must control or I must not, whatever it is. So where there is contradiction, self-contradiction, then there is this division. Why is there self-contradiction?
It seems as if when there is a total movement, whether of looking or of feeling, then there doesn't seem to be this contradiction.
No, I must go back. What is contradiction?
It's more than one thing.
Huh?
More than one thing.
What is contradiction? What do you mean contradict? What is
There's two things.
two things? You are contradicting one in opposition to the other, right? Is that it? Huh?
Shall I say that it may be like this, that I have a deep feeling. That deep feeling is a spontaneous response to a misery, to a misfortune. Say somebody else's misery, it may be just I am witness to a misery. 70 million people come from Bangladesh, and then you read every day, day after day after day. And suddenly one part of you says that all this feeling is phony unless you do something about it. Now, I say that when I read something,
Yes, sir.
it is a spontaneous thing.
Yes, and if you can't do anything?
And to say that if you can't do anything, then all this is phony. Now, this is where a contradiction comes into being.
No, sir, Achuji,
And
I'm
this-
trying to find out what we mean by contradiction. Contradire, to say something opposite. Isn't it? Contradiction means that.
Yes.
I say something, this is blue, and contradict it by saying it's red. Right? Now, contradiction. Where does this contradiction exist?
If I gave this.
No, come nearer.
The
Much
mind.
nearer.
In the mind.
Huh?
In the mind.
No, not in the mind. Just look at it, sir. Why is there contradiction at all? Contradiction implies the opposite, doesn't it? Is there the opposite? Except man, woman, girl, boy, I don't mean that now. But is there contradiction at all? Or there is only one state, and I don't know how to go beyond it, therefore I invent the contradiction. I'm just investigating, I'm not saying it is so well investigated. I am what? Jealous. The contradiction and the opposite, which is contradire, to say the opposite to this, is not to be jealous.
Yes.
Right? If I know what to do with jealousy, would the opposite exist?
No, it wouldn't exist.
Investigate. I hate. And I don't know how to get it. I enjoy it, I like it, I don't like it. You follow? In that, I hate. What is the necessity to have its opposite?
I suppose my dissatisfaction with it.
Huh?
My dissatisfaction with it.
With hate. Why are you dissatisfied? It is a fact. My point is, if I know how to go beyond it instantly, it's finished. There is no opposite. Right? Let's be clear on that. I'm a coward. I'm a whatever, it doesn't matter which it is. And if I can deal with it instantly and be free of it, what is the necessity of the opposite? Is freedom the opposite, an opposite? Yeah, that's a good point. What? Is freedom the opposite of slavery?
So are you not assuming that when we see something, we are able to deal with it immediately? As you say, if I see hate, then I deal with it immediately.
That's all.
But that means I don't see.
Therefore, don't invent the opposite. Just say, I don't see.
So you are feeling a certain thing, so you're seeing to an extent you're seeing.
No, sir.
Otherwise
Ingram
you'll be
Smith, just
wrong.
listen, sir. I am envious. That's a fact. Why do I have to have its opposite? Not to be envious. Why? My culture says, my religion says, my family says, my education says, don't be envious. But they don't mean it, but it's my phony conditioning. And I try to follow that, because I'm conditioned that way. But I say to myself, why do I have to have an opposite? I know that's what all the people have said. But why is there an opposite to envy?
I don't like it, I want to
No, not like and dislike. Is there an opposite to envy?
So I was identifying like them with the heart in that
No,
sense.
Ingram Smith, I don't mean that at all. I'm asking a very different question altogether. Whether I like, dislike, rationalize, accept, don't accept, that's not the point. Has envy an opposite?
If the difficulty is, if I feel envy, and from that envy, I say there's an opposite.
No, you're missing my point, sir. Is there an opposite at all?
The opposite is
Huh?
brought into existence by the mind alone.
No,
We don't know whether there is an
no, you're not answering my question.
So are you asking, is there an opposite to envy, hate, any of the qualities?
Yeah. Is there an opposite at all?
Or it's a myth we have been pursuing?
It's very go on, sir. It's a good point. Go on. Is there an opposite at all? Except, of course, you are a woman, I'm a man, and they'll cut out all that stuff.
No, but the opposite is their non-existence.
What?
The opposite is their non-existence.
I'm questioning it. Is there an opposite?
There is a state in which envy doesn't exist, then that should be the opposite of when envy is.
What?
If there is a state when envy doesn't exist, then that state is opposite to the state when envy exists.
Yes. So, what exists then?
Nothing.
No, madam, look.
Opposition. If you say something is opposite, you have an
No, sir.
opposition.
I'm questioning I'm questioning the whole thing. I'm questioning whether opposites exist at all. Then, what exists?
The whole structure of the mind is made up of opposites.
I question it. I question that. You accept it. That's your condition. I never thought of the opposite. You follow? I can't think in terms of opposite. So it's impossible for me. I'm nobody, I'm just saying that. So I want to find out why, if it may be an illusion on the part of myself to say there is no opposite. Because I like to deal with what is and not with what may be. Therefore I say there may be no opposite at all. Is that a fact? Courage. Is it an opposite of cowardice? How do I know it's courage? I only know cowardice. Fear. Cowardice, fear, withdrawal, and all the rest of it. And the opposite can only be recognized because I am a coward. Right?
Sir, this question of opposite is very much tied up with time. Because our minds are constantly in the dimension of psychological time, then if you put anything in that dimension, the opposite will come into existence.
So I don't want to reduce time yet. I want to invest. I see your point, but I want to go a little more, you follow, a little more into it before I jump to time.
So could I ask one question? If I am fearful of a situation, and for some reason or other I see through it, and in my mind or the memory of that is that I am fearful and I am not fearful.
No,
so
sir. No, let's wipe it out. Let's start it again. Is freedom the opposite of slavery? I am a slave, and I would like to be free, because I only know slavery, being told what to do, what not to do, all the rest of it. I live in a small little courtyard of my mind, and in that courtyard I am a slave. The mind is a slave, and it says how marvelous it would be to get out. The getting out and the end is called freedom. So I'm questioning whether freedom is the opposite of this. You see, and if it is the opposite, if freedom is the opposite, how do I know that it is free?
Yes, exactly, because we do not know whether it is an opposite, because the freedom is merely a speculation of
No, you're missing my point. I must move. I'm getting lost. Sorry. Is freedom the opposite of slavery? And how do I know that freedom exists at all? I only know it because I'm in a little courtyard of my mind, right?
I want it to exist.
Wait, not yet. I only know that. and I imagine freedom.
Yes.
I imagine freedom from my little yard. So I call that a wider field freedom. Because mine is small and that is great, wider. So is freedom the opposite? Or is the opposite? If it is the opposite, then it is the movement of a mind that is slavish, hoping to attain a state of mind which is not slavish. So the slavish mind imagines that, names it freedom, but it is a movement from slavery to. I don't know if I'm... Therefore it has got its root here, not...
So this freedom itself comes in my mind like this. I am arrogant and I say, hello, I wish I am not. So the freedom that I then think of is the freedom from that arrogance. Another time I am greedy, I say now I don't want to be greedy.
Yes, sir. So just look what happens. I am arrogant. I'm arrogant. And I say I must be humble. The humility is the opposite of arrogance. I have named it as humility. Because I am arrogant. This arrogancy has invented that. No?
Yes.
Therefore, that humility is born out of arrogance. Therefore, it is still arrogant. I don't know.
Yes, sir, it is so. This is so. That when I only know my immediate tether, then the opposite that I think of.
Obviously.
Therefore, it is fragmented. Then it is.
So I am questioning whether that exists at all.
The opposite, which you postulate as the seed of this. So it's not the
Obviously. So is freedom the opposite of this?
Do you know, sir, what this means?
I know what it means.
From this end, it means that the only freedom we know is the freedom from this, that thing. Every time that I feel my tether, I want it extended, then my freedom is like this.
Of course.
And when you speak the word freedom, it has a dimension which becomes an abstraction.
I'm going to find out. We're going to find out. That's what I want to get at. When you say heart and mind, is there such a division? Or is the division created by thought which wants to control the heart? Because the heart says, oh, give up your everything, for God's sake, be gentle. And mind says, my God, if I do that, I lose my job, my furniture. So there is, right?
Does it mean that only the heart exists? There is only one thing.
And that we're going to find out. I'm questioning whether there is such division at all. Psychosomatically, there is no division. It's all one movement. But we have separated it as the mind and the heart and the body. The body, the mind, and the heart and the mind. And then we try to say, how do we harmonize the three? And then some guru comes around and says, do this. And you practice, and the entity that practices is still fragment. So he never gets anywhere that way. So we can brush all that aside. So I'm questioning why this division exists at all. Is it the mind thought that wants to control the feelings, which is part of thought? If there was no thought, there would be no feeling. Would there be?
It's like I feel that perhaps it is like this, that when something arises as a feeling,
It's actually, how do I know it's a feeling unless I recognize it?
instead by feeling I would say that it is just, I am spontaneously,
No, you're speculating. I won't go into enter into that field. How do you recognize a feeling? You name it. And back again.
No, what I was trying to say is that it ebbs. The difference between thought and feeling, as far as I am able to understand it, that in one case the voltage varies without my volition. In the other case, when I am dealing with thought, then I can move more or less.
I follow this actually, but you have not answered my question. Sorry.
So then it's the nervous reaction. So without the thought,
Sure.
aren't we aware of the feeling?
You put a pin into me with my leg, pain. That nerves convey to the brain and all the rest of it, I call it pain, and draw myself away from that. You hurt me. Not only physically, but psychologically. The hurt, according to the image I have, which thought has built, and I say, he's hurting me. And so on, so on. The division exists as long as I have a reaction, pleasant or unpleasant, psychologically. I must go into this a little more carefully. I must stick to one thing at a time. Is freedom the opposite? And is there such thing as freedom which has no opposite? This is not an abstract discussion, because you will see where it is leading to. Because if envy has its opposite, then the battle between the opposite and itself is inevitable. And through conflict, there is no resolution of the fact of envy. I don't know if I'm making. Am I going right?
Is conflict an escape? Is conflict between the fact and its opposite an escape?
It is if you have an opposite.
So anytime I want to change a feeling.
No. You see, change the feeling is already.
Yes,
that's
what I'm saying. That is the escape.
Escape because there is the opposite. You want to change it from what it is into something. The something then becomes the opposite. Then between the two there is conflict. Then conflict doesn't resolve and the first pain or whatever, the first fact. So I want to find out if any opposites exist at all.
Supposing there is fever, we know there is a state without fever, isn't it?
We said man, woman, fever.
Not the physical.
No, wait, even fever, look, I had fever yesterday. That's a fact. It got pain, I felt weak, I felt anxious, I might die, all that stuff that goes on. Now the fever has gone, but the memory has remains. And I'm healthy now. But thought says I might get it tomorrow. Thought being the response of the memory of yesterday's fever, which says I might get it tomorrow. So I am afraid. Tomorrow is the opposite of yesterday where I had pain. So tomorrow is in relation to the fever I had yesterday, right? Yes, I had it yesterday, fever, all right, finished. It's over. If it happens again tomorrow, I'll deal with it, but I won't let that fever carry me or go along with me in memory. I don't know if therefore is there.
No, sir, such a physical phenomena like this, it's quite clear.
If that is clear, then has envy the opposite?
No, her point is, if just as there is a state without fever, condition of the body, there is a condition of the mind without envy. So is that not the opposite?
The absence.
The absence.
The absence of that envy.
I know envy, and I also know.
Moment you know envy, the mind has never been free from it.
Which is unlike the fever, therefore I think
Sir, this is marvelous. I don't have to say this. If I know envy, the mind has never been free from it.
Because it is recognized.
Of course, it recognizes.
And the thought memorizes.
Otherwise, I won't call it envy. So is there a mind which has never known envy? I won't go into it. You see, Achuji?
That's the reason why I took arrogance. The only reason I took was that whether I know it or I don't know it, whether I name it or don't name it, everybody else sees it. I am a fool if I don't see it. What I feel is that the creation of the opposite is something more complicated than merely being aware or not being aware. I may or I may not, but
I understand that, Chichi. I want to go on further. I have been arrogant. I am arrogant. I recognize it as arrogance because my mind has known arrogance. Otherwise, I wouldn't call it arrogance. I wouldn't call it anything. So the mind has known arrogance. Knowing arrogance and saying, how do I get out of that? It may create the opposite, hoping thereby to get out of it. But that only involves more conflict, right? And therefore it never gets out. Now I want to find out, a mind that has known arrogance can never be free of arrogance. You follow what I mean?
yes.
A mind that has been hurt, can it be free of hurt?
Is it the same question as the mind which has known delight, which wants the delight again?
That's a different matter.
It's a different matter.
That's very simple. I have known delight. This morning I saw a light on the green lawn. It was an extraordinary light. And I saw it. And finished. I didn't say, well, I must look again. It's finished. But thought comes along and says, I'd like to see that tomorrow again. Then it'd be the whole pleasure, fear, and annoyance that we're not getting it again. I wish that cloud hadn't come, and so on, so on, so on, so on. But I'm going to go much further than that, which is a mind that has been arrogant. Will it ever be free of arrogance? a mind that has been hurt, will it again become totally innocent? What do you say, sir? Go on. If it can't, then it is always covering over arrogance, right? Call it humility, call it grace, call it what you like, but it's all a coverage. Hiding arrogance, right? I'm asking this question, can it be free of arrogance? Or a mind that has never known arrogance can only be free? Is free, not can only be. I don't know if I'm... Huh?
But that means that the mind is either inherently free or
No,
it
no,
isn't.
no. I'm questioning it. I'm questioning. I've been hurt. My mind has been hurt. Socially, economically, in education, parents, other boys, and it has been terribly hurt, bruised. It can escape into the opposite, say, I must not be bruised, and that's, we put that aside. The brain has been hurt, not physically, but inwardly, psychologically, the mind has been hurt. How is it to be free of that? And is freedom the opposite of the hurt? If it is the opposite, then that opposite is born from the hurt. And therefore it is not free. Right? Therefore there is only hurt. Not the opposite, the escape, how to go beyond, only the hurt. Right? Right, sir? You see?
Yes,
Then what?
in the eye, there is a mechanism which puts some liquid, saline, from the tear gland, and the eye gets wiped out constantly.
Yes. Yes.
Now, is there...
No, I understand that, but I want to a little deeper. Saline process is fairly simple. The mind is hurt and there is no opposite. I see the trick that civilization has played on the mind. Civilization, myself, the whole thing. And I said, that's no, I wipe it up, put it away from me. Therefore, what have I left? What is the mind left?
The hurt.
The hurt. What shall the mind do? Go on, sir. What will you do? You've been hurt, haven't you? What will you do? Or is the wrong question I'm putting you?
If there is no opposite, there is nothing it can do.
No, wait. I have asked him, please. I have asked him, what will you do? And you are thinking, what can I do? I put you a wrong question. What is the right question?
Is there anything to do?
If I say, what will you do? And you say, is there anything to do? It's the same pattern. The doing and not doing is still in the field of doing. Right? So I say, now what is the mind to do or not to do about its hurts? What do I mean by being hurt? What is hurt? The mind is hurt. Or the image I have about myself as the mind. Answer. Is the mind hurt or the image hurt? The image, product of thought about myself, I say I am a great man or a little man or whatever it is, and you come around and say, don't be silly, you're no more great than the toad is. And I say, you follow? And I get hurt. So my mind isn't hurt. The image I have built about myself is hurt.
Mind is the image about yourself.
So my mind is my mind the image?
The image is a product of the mind.
Is it? I'm not saying it's not. Is it the image? Is the image different from the maker of the image? The maker of the image is thought.
Yes.
And the thought is the part of the mind. So the maker of the image is the image. And the maker is hurt, not the image only. Right, okay. And so don't go to sleep, come on. So when I say my mind is hurt, I mean the image which thought has built for itself as the me, which is hurt, and the thought separates itself from the image and says, I am being hurt. But the maker of the image is the image. There is no difference between the maker and the image. The potter is the pot. The potter gets hurt. Not the image, not the mind, but the potter. Right? No? No, come on, sir.
You're saying there's a mind other than the potter.
What?
You're saying that there's a mind other than the potter.
No, for God's sake, no.
Are you going beyond? Okay.
The potter is the thought, and the image he makes is the potter. The potter, the maker, and the thought are one. Right? Now what gets hurt? When I say I'm hurt, you call me a fool, I get hurt. What is hurt? Not the mind, but the thought which has created the image. The image is the thinker. The thinker gets hurt. Right? So the thinker says, I'm hurt. Now he says to himself, I mustn't be hurt. And goes off at a tangent, the opposite and all the rest of it. Now he says, look, stop, I won't go into the opposite. I am hurt. The thinker is hurt. Why is there a thinker? apart from the image, apart from wanting not to be. You follow? Why is there a thinker at all in relation to this field, in this field? I can understand a thinker working out a problem in the field of knowledge. But why is there a thinker at all in the field of relationship, in the field of existence, let's call it for the moment? Won't there be hurt as long as there is a thinker? Sorry, does it get too deep?
When you say that mind is not hurt, does it mean that thought is different from mind?
No, mind is the total thing. I've told you.
Feeling.
Mind is the body, the heart, and the mind. Mind is the total movement, a unitary movement, the whole, healthy, holy. Now that the mind, with its movement of thought in the field of knowledge, continues that thought in the other field. And in the other field it gets hurt.
Yes.
And also it gets in the other field because it introduces thought as the me that gets the image I have as being an excellent technician. And you go around and say, don't be a silly ass, you're just a bull. I mean, you press buttons, that doesn't mean you're an etc. So I get hurt. So you can see this. So I say, why does the thinker enter into this field at all? I don't know if you understand? In this field. Why? And I see, as long as he enters in there, he'll always be hurt or greedy, envy, or whatever it is. So I'm saying, why does he exist in that field at all? What is that field? That field is relationship, right? So in relationship, is there need to be hurt?
By relationship, it's both inner and outer.
Huh?
By relationship, you must include both outer and relationship with oneself.
Oh, of course. No, we said in the outer, my relationship is based on capacity, on function. But when status is included in the function, then I get hurt. There is hurt. But if there is only function and not status, there is no hurt. I don't agree. This series. I'm a cook. I'm a cook. That's my function. But if you treat me as a cook because you are the governor or the big man, you are abusing your function by introducing status. Right? So that's very clear. And status becomes important when functions are not respected for themselves. A gardener is a gardener, full stop. A yoga teacher is a yoga teacher. Why do you compare him with the businessman or with the, what do you call it, minister, or with some big pezzo grosso, which is a big shot? Why? Because status to us is very important. To me, that is out. Status is out. Status means authority and all the ugliness behind. So I say function is the only thing and not status. Therefore, it's simple. If I function well, I am a good gardener, a good cook, a good minister, a good whatever it is. So, I'm discovering, this is exploring, so you follow? And why I say to myself, why does the thinker exist at all in this field of human relationship? If he exists, he must get hurt.
Is it a question of survival for the thinker?
Is it? Survival, semi-permanency. Survival means permanency, semi-permanency, and so on. So in relationship, when the thinker comes in, the inevitable fact is he will be crushed, he will be hurt, he will be butchered, he will be bruised, he will get angry, he will get jealousy and all the rest of it. So I say, why should he enter into this field at all?
He wants to feel secure.
Huh?
Secure.
What do you mean secure?
Securing his image.
You see what should function, capacity gives him security in that field without status, right? You are introducing that same factor of survival or security in this field, and it has no validity. What is there to survive? There I need survival. I must have clothes, food, shelter and all the rest of it. But what is the need in this field to survive? Who is to survive? The thinker? The thinker being the past, memory, past. I said that's just non-existence, the past. It is existence there, but don't introduce it here.
No, but thought as past experience for survival of the physical being helps you.
It has to be there.
Yes.
I said there.
So we have to recognize
function implies security.
Yes.
Of course. I mean, if I function, I get and all the rest of it. But why do I introduce security into this at all?
Is it a habit of the thinker?
So is it habit, or is it a desire on the part of the mind which hasn't really understood function? I don't know. The governor, the prime minister, the big people want to survive in that field. And they bring that survival of that momentum into this field. Because there, survival for them means status. Not functionaries, but status. They bring that status into this field and say that status must survive. I must be governor for the rest of my future lives. Right, sir? So I say, don't look what you are doing, and if you do this, you'll always be hurt. Then the problem arises, how is it this momentum, this movement to stop? No, how is that function with its security, with its stability, with its why should it enter into here at all? And apparently it does. Then the problem is how to stop it. Will you put a wall against it and say, please don't go beyond this old wall, because you'll get hurt?
Go back to the opposite in the beginning.
In the beginning. So you see, then what does the mind do? The mind then says, I see very clearly, function is the only thing in this field and nothing else. No status. Function. When you don't give function a status, then you are free of this. No? No, I don't. Huh? Actually, we've traveled a lot, haven't we? What time is it? 11. Is that enough? I think that's enough, don't you?